Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I am going to do my video, my monthly video for October 2024. And so we have our final eclipse happening this month in the eclipse season. I'm going to talk about that to start off with. We have a full moon that is going to be in Aries. And we have a few other things going on as well. So let's just start off with this new moon eclipse that is in Libra. So the details are this. It is on the 2nd of October at 11:47 a.m. and that's Pacific Daylight Time. And the degrees we're looking at here are 10 Libra 03. So in order for you to have, some kind of significant effects with this eclipse, this new moon eclipse, I'm pretty close in my orbs, so I would say maybe 8, 9, then 10, 11, 12 at the most. But I really like to have it almost exact on the 10, right? 10 Libra. And of course, you also look at the opposite. In terms of like real effects, I look at the opposition. So that would then be Aries. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of Aries as well, right? And so when we think about the sign of Libra, we ask, what is the ruler of Libra? And that is Venus. So then we look at, well, where is Venus at this time of this new moon eclipse? And it's in Scorpio. Now, Venus isn't so happy to be in Scorpio. It's not light and bright and sweet. It tends to be deep. And with Scorpio, there can be obsessive, compulsive type stuff as well going on. This could be a time for some people, especially if you've got your Venus or anything else in your chart, like your sun and your ascendant, aspected by Venus in Scorpio. So Venus is going to be at 11 Scorpio. Then this could be a pretty intense time for you, an intense time of change. So that Venus in Scorpio adds in a lot of depth, right? And then when we look at Mars, we've got Mars at 15 of Cancer. And notably, right, so you want to make sure you check out where your Cancer is, the sign of Cancer is in your chart, because this month we also have the shadow period happening with Mars. So the shadow period starts at 17 of Cancer, right? And then it will go into its retrograde early December, come out of its shadow again towards the end of February next year, 2025. So what's happening also, we've got a Grand Trine happening at this eclipse time period on the 2nd of October. And I really like this because this is an actual water trine. So it's going to bring a lot of emotional energy into the realms here of this eclipse. So we have the actual, we've talked about the Venus, we've talked about Mars, and the other planet we have in this Grand Trine is Saturn. And Saturn is retrograde, but it's at 14 degrees of Pisces. And so take a look. Again, let's do the orbs here. Let's say between 10 and 16 degrees of either Scorpio, Cancer, and or Pisces. If you've got those aspected, this could be a significant new time for you, right? Now, I think a lot of this eclipse is going to play out in a mundane, on the world stage. We've got this trine on top of the new moon in Libra. And I really feel that those Libran type vibes of the legal profession, laws, legal cases, as well as diplomacy are all going to be up at this eclipse. And just remind yourself that if you do have something around this 10 degree of Libra mark, and therefore you're affected by it, this effect of the newness in Libra at the eclipse could go on for about 6 months, sometimes even up to a year. So what do we have happening in October? We have the Supreme Court in the USA coming back. And I'm not sure if they're coming back on the 2nd of October when the eclipse is, or the following week. Whichever way it goes, I think they're going to be playing into this. They may have some more things that they want to enact or change. So that might be up here in terms of the newness. But I think also, if we're really lucky, we will have some of these laws that the Supreme Court put out, put a different spin on it, take another look at it, listen to the people, and maybe decide to make some changes. We may not see that change at this time, but I'm getting this feeling that there may be something that they review again and maybe change some of those laws that they put forward to benefit everybody in our society. And I'm talking especially in the USA. The diplomacy part I see as new starts with regards to hopefully these two different wars that are going on that seem to be getting bigger and bigger in some ways. So I think there's going to be huge efforts to put that forward. We may not see peace, real peace in these regions. So we're talking about Gaza, Israel, as well as Ukraine. Probably till we get through next year in April. So we've got a Mercury as well as a Venus retrograde happening March, April. I'll get into those more details later, but I just wanted to give you the heads up. Because we've got those retrogrades happening in Aries, we can talk about war. Then it goes into Pisces, is more about peace. I think we may actually come to some peaceful resolution, but I don't think it's going to be really hard and fast until April next year. But I think this is going to be huge inroads in the right direction at this eclipse. So we have Jupiter sextile Chiron. And so Jupiter sextile and Chiron can just bring in some opportunities to heal, right? And this is around the 25-degree mark. So this would be 25 of Gemini and 25 of Aries. Okay, so let's head out of that eclipse and now go into some of the things that happen. And the 6th and 7th of October, we have Mars, as I mentioned, at 17 Cancer in shadow. So how would I use that? I would say pay attention to what comes up around that time period, right? Because it's going to be featured more as we get into the retrograde period. Most of this Mars retrograde is going to be in Cancer. And not only is it the retrograde, once we get into next year, like March, April time period, it's going to be going direct, Mars, but it's going to be still in Cancer. Now, I have a Cancer ascendant around 14 degrees, so I will definitely be affected by this. I'm expecting I'm going to be probably very busy. There's a lot of home things that I'm doing at the moment too, so those may increase, and maybe I'll even get some of them done. So you really have to have something around the start, right, of the shadow period, which is 17 Cancer. And then we're looking at around 6 degrees or so of Leo. All right, so that's what it starts in December. I will cover it a little bit more then, but I just wanted to give you the heads up. Look to see where your Cancer placements are. Pay attention to around this 6th, 7th of October with what comes up. And it could be just frustrations come up, or you start thinking about planning to do something to take action. Know that that action may be delayed with the Mars retrograde. So what can you do? You want to do plan A, plan B, and plan C. If you've got something important that you're planning on taking action, especially with regards to the time period of December, all the way through the end of February, which is the exact retrograde time period, right? All right, enough about that one. We've got on the 9th of October a beautiful setup. Now it's a little wide, but we have Venus trining Mars. And so we've got Venus in Scorpio and Mars that's going to be in Cancer. Well, this is a beautiful setup if you've got this type of setup here. So we're looking at, again, around that 17-degree mark. And I would say that this could bring in for some folks, a relationship that is, it's got real depth to it because we've got that Scorpio part that is so, but it adds that little bit of obsessiveness. You know, you could be drawn to somebody with this Venus trine Mars. But the other thing it can bring in, because Mars and Cancer really speaks to our need for security and safety. So you could have a combination of that, right? But at its worst, it may be just trying to cling to somebody when maybe you need to back off a little bit. So if you are entering into a relationship around this time, just be aware of those types of energies that could be coming up and maybe just back off a little bit. That's what I would say. But certainly an intense time for relationships, for sure. On the 10th of October, we have Jupiter retrograde at 21 of Gemini. So I would say that this could bring in, maybe you're wanting to expand, could be expanding in writing, whatever Gemini means for you. So it can be, typically we're talking about communications of any sort. Maybe some folks will have something delayed with regards to making a presentation somewhere. Writing could be delayed, or they have to replan that. Really, Jupiter itself tends to just bring beneficial influences, even in retrograde, even in square, even in opposition. So it might be just a time to regroup with regards to whatever communications type things. For others, it might be siblings involved here. Travel could be delayed for some reason. You know, Jupiter rules the 9th house of international travel, but Gemini rules the 3rd house of local travel. So if you have this 21 degrees in your chart somewhere, you may find that travel, either international or local, maybe for your work, is delayed for some reason, or you have to take a different route. And again, knowing this is coming up on the 10th of October, if you've got something important you've got to get to, have a plan B. We have Pluto going direct. I should have balloons and fireworks around here on the 11th of October at 29 of Capricorn. So now we know that it's making its way back to Aquarius. Now that's not going to be really till about mid-November where it does go into Aquarius. But this is the final stretch, right? And it's going direct. So I'd say that's a positive thing. On a mundane worldwide level, this type of transit can bring in that final gasp from all those institutions, all those governments that really need to fall. So we could see around this time period, 11th of October, so we're talking mid-October time period, the final demise of those governments that really need to go, and the people in power. Power likes to be shown, for sure, with Pluto, but truth does too. And Pluto going direct could really reveal some significant truths at this time, especially because Pluto is at that anaretic degree, right? That's a critical degree, 29 degrees. And not only is it that, it's the wrap-up of Pluto in Capricorn in our lifetime. We will never see this again. We have Uranus, is going to be all month at 26 degrees of Taurus. So if you do have this degree as well, there could be some enlightenment, some shakeups, some wake-ups for you. Because it's lasting the whole month, and if you've got this degree, 26 of Taurus, then expect some real big enlightenment and big change coming your way. When we look at the 15th of October, we have Venus again, and it will be opposite Uranus. Well, this can really amp up the excitement with regards to what? Mainly relationships. So this could, on its own, bring in a relationship unexpectedly out of the blue for you. But the other thing this can do, so both with Venus in Scorpio and with Uranus in Taurus, we're really talking about money here as well, right? Your money or my money. And so with the opposition, I would say there may also be, I know the Fed has already done their reduction in interest rates, but this could bring in something maybe associated with that too, where there's some unexpected change in the money markets on a global level, right? But on an individual level, this could bring in suddenly out of the blue a relationship. It can also, on the other flip side of that, have a relationship end at the same time, right? Now, on the 16th of October, Venus again, and let's remember that eclipse that I just spoke about, we have it ruled by Venus. So Venus is playing a big part here, not only at the eclipse on the 2nd of October, but right the way through halfway of October, right? Now it's going to be trine Neptune, and it does this, more than once through a year. So it's like the only time you're going to have Venus trine Neptune, but this is a beautiful thing too. This is going to bring in opportunities for us to be inspired, great inspiration, right? So, hey, if you've got to give a presentation, say around the 16th of October, this setup of this transit could really have you inspiring people. Venus can also stand for females. So there may be some inspirational thing that happens here with regards to females. Or a female may provide great inspiration at this time. Now, just going back to that eclipse again, I'm not going to go into what's called the Saros cycle. I know other astrologers have, but just know that all these eclipses that we have happen are part of larger cycles from way back sometimes 1,000 years ago. And some of them will go forward for at least another few hundred years. And so each of these eclipses belongs to a certain cycle. This particular eclipse that I've just spoken about belongs to what's called the 8 South. And then you have certain themes associated with it. So for this one, even though it's a new moon, it has separation, loss, and to finish something. But finishing something and wrapping up something, but for some reason there's a little bit of sadness associated with it. So, this could play out for some folks where you have this great creative project that you've been working on maybe for years, and you finally put the final touches to it, but your whole life has revolved around it. And now you're seeing that, ooh, I'm going to have to now let that little baby go, whatever it is that you're creating. So that sort of thing, just to give you, something to imagine what I'm talking about. The other big thing about this eclipse, though, is to take good care of your physical body, right? Let's move on to the next lunation. So that's going to be the full moon in Aries. It occurs at 24 Aries, 35 minutes. It's a full moon, so we know that the sun is in the opposite sign. So here we are featuring Libra again, right? So that's 24 Libra is where the sun will be. It happens on the 17th of October at 4:27 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. The moon will be conjunct in Chiron, and so we're talking about healing energies here of some sort. And because it's a full moon, these could be difficult healing energies, not necessarily something that is smooth and moves forward. Don't forget, this is a full moon. It is not an eclipse, but a full moon. Something could come to light on a global level or a mundane level with regards to something to do with our health. That could be coming up here as well. We have Venus as well as Pluto at this time at 29 degrees. That would have Venus in Scorpio, and that would have Pluto in Capricorn. So these are both at the anaretic degree. This is going to bring in some intense energies. And I'm seeing this as females with the Venus, or a female, or both, confronting those in power powerfully. Yeah, there's going to be some contentious stuff going on here at this full moon to do with females and maybe female-related things. I think we all know what that is. We also have Mars will be squaring Chiron. So it's like healing is wanted, right? But for some reason, it's being prevented. So I'm thinking there may be a lot of things come up here regarding women that are not good for them from the health standpoint. I'm just going to leave it at that. Nicely, though, we're going to have Jupiter sextiling Chiron. So there's opportunities here to expand for the benefit, right? Jupiter's all about benefits. Good advice comes with Jupiter as well. Teaching comes with Jupiter. Foreign people, foreign things. So there's an element here of potentially teaching, but also of expanding the opportunity to heal. So it's interesting. We've got both the expanding healing, but then we've also got kind of almost the opposite of, there may be irritation with this. So it, to me, says opposing forces with regards to something to do with our health, probably on a global level. We have Venus opposite Uranus still. So we already covered the Venus opposite Uranus up there on the 15th, but it still continues here on the 17th of October. Again, just maybe some enlightenment with regards to anything to do with females, anything to do with love, but also this could be something happens with a female unexpectedly that shines a light on that female. We have Pluto having a wide trine to Uranus, right? So we've still got Pluto at that anaretic degree, and then Uranus isn't, so it's a few degrees off, but it's still in orb. So this could bring in unexpected opportunities for people to be put in power. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, trines are always favorable, right? And because we're wrapping up this rather difficult energy of Pluto in Capricorn, I think Uranus, and don't forget Uranus does rule Aquarius, which is where Pluto is going to be going into permanently for about, over 20 years, soon in November. This could bring to light what that's going to look like, or give us an idea of what this is going to. What is that new power? What's that new government going to look like, right? So the ruler of this full moon, of course, is Mars. Where is Mars at this time? It's in Cancer, and it's in its shadow period. And on top of that, Mars, in a wide square, squares both the sun, right, in Libra, and then that moon in Aries. So I would say this is going to be probably aggressive types of action. This could be warlike situations. Now, Mars doesn't necessarily like being in Cancer. Mars likes to move ahead and do things. But Mars in Cancer can form this very protective type energy, safety energy. I want to protect myself here. So there could be a theme of that around, just generally speaking, right, in the wide public, where we need to protect ourselves here. It also refers to protecting yourself and your individuality, right? Because it's the moon we're looking at, and that is in Aries. We want to do our own thing. And this is Mars saying, not so fast, not so fast. Issues like things are surrounding anything to do with Cancer, so that's motherhood, mothering, the family, could all have some contentious issues around at this time. So when we look at the 23rd of October, we have Venus now in Sagittarius. I know it's not the best place for Venus, but at least it brings in some optimism here, right? And it'll be trining a North Node. So I would say something is going to happen here with regards to a mundane aspect where, and this again could be a female, a positive female, but there's going to be some positive news about our destiny. And I think this is going to be brought through women, maybe generally speaking, or a woman who is very optimistic and positive. On the 26th of October, we have Mars forming a favorable aspect with Uranus, and that's going to be the sextile. So this is an opportunity to make change. Okay, so how can you use this? If you need to make some change in your life, and even if Mars is in shadow, it's okay. It's still going direct. Around that 26th of October will be a good time to take some action to make some changes in your life. That's just period. Take some action, movement. Seek out enlightenment. Opportunities like that are going to exist there big time for you. On the 28th of October, Mars still now is going to trine Neptune. And so this is going to bring in opportunities to be inspired. Like this is like, a global inspiration. When you get that inspirational speaker really saying, wow, I feel optimistic about my future here, for sure. I really feel good about what's going on. And if you've got this aspected in your chart, so this is kind of the latter degrees. For Neptune is around, I think, the 24, 25 degrees. So it's around that degree point. You could have some action that you take is very inspirational. But don't forget, Neptune also rules things like dance, music. This would be a fantastic time to put, say, some music or dance, especially dance with Mars, the body, together. Or we may witness some beautiful inspirational dance or music at this time. All right, that's it for October. Let me give you a little peek now of November 2024, because it's an active month too. We're out of eclipse season once we end October, but we've got a new moon in Scorpio. We have a full moon in Taurus. Mercury will go retrograde almost mid-month, and it'll be in Sagittarius. That Mercury retrograde stays retrograde, all in Sagittarius. We have Saturn turning direct in November, and Pluto direct, but now in Aquarius. So big changes. Talk more about that next month. For me, I always like to pick some key words for the month after I've looked at the astrology. And the key words for me in October 2024 are relationships, the law, the legal profession, and diplomacy. So next, I am going to do or take a look at your ascendant and or your sun sign. My preference is if you could look at your ascendant or listen to or watch your ascendant to begin with, and then look at your sun sign. Both are really important. All right, so let's start with you, Libra, because Libra, this is your new moon. And what's interesting at this new moon eclipse for you, Libra, is that sandwiched on either side of the moon and the sun, right? Because the moon and the sun will be together in Libra at 10 degrees. You've got the south node on one side and you've got Mercury on the other. So it's pulling these energies in too. And this kind of falls in line with what I spoke about at the beginning when I talked about the Saros cycle, right? And how there may be some feelings of loss, even though there's completions, there may be some feelings of loss and taking care of your body, not overdoing it. That to me speaks to the whole south node, right? So there may be some Librans, especially if you've got something around that 10 degree mark or 10 degree of Aries, which is opposition, that there may be some necessity to let something go. But with the Mercury part of it, you may get some good news. And I'm just doing a direct sort of translation. That good news for some Librans could be to do with a legal case. So you are able to let go of maybe a legal case or legal matter through a communication from the legal profession. I mean, that's straight off how it could be. It can also involve some kind of diplomacy, either on a very basic level or at a higher level internationally for some Librans. But communications will be important. And it's going to be important to be balanced, right? Libra is very much a sign of balance, diplomacy, doing the right thing, especially as it applies to, our social mores, right? That type of thing as well. I mean, it could also be, a more superficial level. This could bring in opportunities for some Librans just to socialize more, right? It's also the sign of marriage, business partnerships, and clients. So there may be some Librans that are getting married at this time, right? And then we look at that south node, you're letting go of your single status and announcing with the Mercury your new status as a married person. That's a nice way for this to pan out for sure. So that's just the eclipse for you, Libra. Now when we go on to the full moon, we know that a full moon in Aries is opposite your sign. And so we know this is an opposition with the full moon in Aries, and it involves your 7th house. Just think of the 7th house as everybody else out there but you. Typically, we say this is your marriage partner, your business partner, or your clients. And for sure, one or all of those could be coming into view. And the view that's coming in here is they may want to be their own individual. They want to go on their own path, right? So Aries is very much about, I want to express who I am. And so I'm not saying there's going to be arguments here, but there could certainly be negotiations as well as discussions regarding partners or others out there, right? Yeah. We've got one more eclipse in Aries coming up, Libra, for you. And it's going to be at 9 degrees, but that's going to be in March 2025 as a final one, right? We'll talk about that more later, but know that the story isn't over yet with regards to you being an individual and your partner. Now, I also want to cover the Mars retrograde because we have Mars retrograde either in shadow, the retrograde itself, or then coming out of shadow. It's a long period of time. It is almost 6 months total, this Mars retrograde, using all those time points. The actual retrograde, which happens in both Leo and Cancer, mostly will happen in Cancer. And that's for about 3 months. So if you've got any of these degree points that I've spoken about, you need to be paying attention now in October when that shadow period starts happening, which is around the 6th and 7th of October. Now for you, Libra, that squares your sign. So Mars in Cancer is going to be squaring your sign. And it involves your 10th house of career. It can also, to some extent, refer to your parents as an entity. It is also your reputation. It's your social standing. So if we go back to what I spoke about with the eclipse at the beginning of October, this could be you just settling into a marriage situation, right? And all the ins and outs of doing that somehow is affecting your career as well. Now, Cancer really refers to things like safety and security. And for sure, maybe with some Librans, you potentially entering into a business partnership, marriage, or gaining more clients could bring some security for you. But with that square, it's going to be a challenge of some sort. You need to think outside the box. I always say that about squares. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that there may be some frustrations. Almost all Mars retrogrades brings frustration at a larger level or a smaller level, depending on the degrees, right? Remind you of the degrees. It's 17 degrees of Cancer is what Mars will go forward and direct at towards the end of February 2025. It will go retrograde a short period of Leo, and it's about 6 degrees of Leo that it will start in early December going retrograde. But we're just going to focus on Cancer here because most of that retrograde is here. I mean, the other thing is that you could be having to integrate a new career, and it's just challenging to some extent. And that career could have something to do with motherhood, anything to do with reproductive types of things, right? So I guess you could stretch it and say it could also be something to do with clinics or hospitals. Although there's not a direct connection with that, it's just the mothering part of it, the nurturing side of it. So you may be developing a career where you're nurturing. You could also be finding yourself in a situation where you're not being nurtured, and that square is waking you up saying, look, this has got to be a win-win situation. You can't be going around saving everybody or having this great compassion and getting burnt out. Cancers can get burnt out for sure. So just take care of that. And it may be during all this Mars retrograde, you've got to sort that out. But know that there's time periods where it'll be more frustrating and times that it won't be. I will be covering this more in my December video. But in January, we actually do have an opposition of Mars and the Sun, right? The Sun will be in Capricorn. And that could be a big transformational time. So if some of these frustrations start happening even in October for you, Libra, know that January may bring some resolution for you when you've got that opposition happening where things become clearer or things pop up that say, this is how you can resolve this issue. All right, take care, Libra. So Scorpio, that Libra eclipse, of course, is in your 12th house. So this could bring in some new beginnings with regards to anything behind the scenes. You could maybe take up some kind of activities behind the scenes. Maybe in your job, you're required to maybe work with some kind of diplomatic type thing, or legal stuff has to be sorted. Maybe you even have to sort out some legal stuff as part of your job, or just by what's occurring in your own life. It can bring in a new start with regards to hidden places like hospitals, ashrams, even government offices fall under the 12th house as well. So you may, for some reason, have to deal with these places, right? But it is a new moon, right? Just bear in mind, Scorpio, that you may, especially the 12th house, is the house of letting go in many respects. If something has to go, whether it's an addiction or something that you are finding that is holding you back, that south node being activated by the eclipse is asking you to let it go. And especially with 12th house here, Scorpio, let go of those things that need to be let go of. Don't cling to them, right, Scorpio? Don't do that. You could have some important communications come in here as well, or you may have some important communications to give up. This could be a good time to take up a metaphysical study as well. Even something like shamanism could be excellent for you to take as a new start, especially when we have that Mercury involved here too, right? Learning could be an important thing for you to do. Now, when we go to that full moon in Aries, now we're talking about your 6th house. So Scorpio, this is something to do with your day-to-day job, right? Something may come to a conclusion. This is not an eclipse. It is just a full moon. So you may end up leaving a job. A job may transform into something where they don't want that department that you're in anymore and you have to transfer to another department. That could happen here too. But in Aries, hey, this is you potentially expressing your individuality, right? If you've got health issues, there could be some new things come, even though it's a full moon. It could be you letting go of something to do with health and embracing something different, because Aries is all about individualized type of therapy, especially as it relates to health, right? And this is mental health too, so don't think it can't fall under that. But it could just have you, I'm just getting this intuition that there may be a lot of Scorpios that decide, I don't want to work for somebody anymore. I want to be more like an Aries type thing in my day-to-day job, and I want to do my own thing. It could be just something as simple as that. Now, that Mars retrograde, in some ways, is going to be favoring you, Scorpio, because it's in a fellow water sign. So we have that Mars retrograde mostly happening in Cancer. So it trines your sign, and it is going to be mostly in your 9th house. So, I mean, this is probably going to be a time of you using the Mars retrograde to plan some travel, right? Maybe set up some kind of maybe commercial stuff with regards to an international connection, or foreign people may be important. For other Scorpios, this may be a time when you take on an advanced degree, but you don't necessarily start it at this time. You have to go through all the machinations of applying for a Ph.D. or a master's, qualifying for it. This would be an excellent time to use a Mars retrograde for sure. But the thing is, with it being in Cancer, this could bring in, at the end of all the Mars retrograde and going direct again, some real safety and security for you in your life. The other thing is legal matters. So, hey, Scorpio, if you're involved in legal matters, just do your due diligence during the Mars retrograde, collect all the information that you might need, converse with people that you need to converse with. And then once the Mars goes direct, which is the end of February, you should see light at the end of the tunnel if you're involved in legal matters, right? All right, take care, Scorpio. So Sagittarius, this new moon eclipse in Libra sextiles your sign, and it's in your 11th house. So this, at the very least, is going to bring potential for new friends coming into your life, potentials for you joining new groups. Excellent, excellent time to do that. And it may even have you taking on a new role with regards to maybe heading up some group of some sort, and you embracing the idea of new friends. You've got Mercury in the mix here, right? And South Node. So you may let go of some friends at this time because they're just not aligning with who you are. That could be an activity that happens here. But you know, that 11th house is also hopes, dreams, and wishes. So this could also bring in an opportunity, a new light shone on those hopes, dreams, and wishes, where you say, I can see this potentially happening for me. And the key here is Sagittarius. Leverage your friendships. Leverage the groups you belong to make those hopes, dreams, and wishes come true. Because that's going to be working in your favor at that new moon eclipse in Libra at 10 degrees on the 2nd of October. Now, the full moon in Aries also favors you, Sagittarius, because it forms a trine, right? It's a fellow fire sign. And it aspects your 5th house. So this can bring in some big light shining on 5th house matters. And 5th house matters is a lot of things. One of the more positive things would be relationships of some sort. Now, typically we talk about full moon as endings, but this could be a full moon ending with regards to a stage of a love. You could decide that, okay, we're going to become serious now and only go out with each other. That's something that could happen at this full moon. Because it's a trine, it's a positive energy. So for those Sagittarians that do have someone that is a new love that leaves your life or says they're going to leave your life, know that that is working for you, right, with that trine. This could also bring in new opportunities for your children to take their own individual path at this time. And again, this is positive for you, right? If you're thinking of starting your own business, you don't usually start a business at the full moon, but you could identify at this time, I want to have this full moon work to help me get my own business going. So just collect the information at this time of how you can be independent on your own, right? So this is in Aries. This is you standing on your own, being your own individual thing. So if that's associated with this new business you want, this is a good thing. You'd have to look at your individual chart. You usually want to start something at a new moon or just after a new moon for an actual start. So maybe all the information that you collect at the Mars retrograde manifest at that final eclipse that's going to be happening, a new moon eclipse that will be happening in Aries at 9 degrees in March. So that's what you could do, and just don't get frustrated with the Mars retrograde part. Look at it as, if I'm getting frustrated and delayed, what do I need to do to make this happen? And know that that making it happen may not fully manifest till around the end of February next year. So do your planning, right? When we look at the Mars retrograde for you, it's going to be happening in your 8th house. So this basically is all your investments. This is your money that you share with other people. It is also your psychological self, what goes on in your head, and it's also your sex life. So all these things could be coming up with regards to the Mars retrograde, you looking at them. I would say one of the most beneficial things to do with the Mars retrograde in the 8th house is to carefully look at all your investments, whether it's joint or whether it's your own, like a 401k or literal investments at this time. Take a close look at them. You're not necessarily going to be able to take action, but this would be a good time to review everything. Now, for those Sagittarians that are retiring, wow, well, this is a phenomenal sort of time period with a Mars retrograde. That is when you take, and you know, I've gone through this where I've accessed my money and my pensions because I wanted to retire out of my corporate job. And I can tell you, it's quite a process. It required quite a few months for me to get all of that sorted out and moving forward. Know that there's going to be frustrations. There may be a time point in January when we've got that Mars opposite Sun that, poof, something may move forward for you that's positive. So work towards that, and then work towards that end of February as more of a time of maybe really manifesting the utilization of those investments in your 8th house, your 401k, your pensions, etc., right? Also a time period when you're going to be able to invest appropriately. I would not try to do any new investments with that Mars, especially the Mars retrograde period itself, right? So that's going to be the first week of December all the way through the end of February next year, 2025. But other than that, this is review time for you, right? All right, take care of yourself. So Capricorn, when we look at that new moon eclipse on the 2nd of October at 10 Libra, well, it squares your sign and it squares your 10th house. So this is going to be bringing in some newness into your career. Well, how's that going to manifest? I would say typically for me, that new moon in your 10th, aspecting your 10th house, is going to ask you by square, we want you to make some adjustments. It's a new, we're closing down this department you're in, and we're highlighting this other department, and we want you to run it, or we want you to go in it. And I've personally seen this numerous times in my career. And your initial reaction is going to be of fear. Well, am I going to lose my job? Do I have to do that? Is it going to be easy for me? So that square is going to bring in maybe some reticence for those people that are having to change their job within their career that they're in already. But don't think it can't happen, right? For others, there may just be some challenges to, you know, on the more negative side of it, to your reputation, to your social standing may be changing. And it's just requiring you to put more effort into it than you anticipated. But it is a new start, right? So don't forget that. For others, you're just going to leave a career and say, I'm done. It's too many problems. I don't want to do it anyway. And I want to start a new career. So there's going to be some Capricorns that just make that announcement. I'm doing a new career here. I'm leaving this behind. And that very well might be a good thing. Because you've got the South Node there saying, let this go, that might be a good thing for some Capricorns to do. And then that Mercury part of that stellium with that new moon eclipse is you making that announcement. And we make announcements close to the midheaven, which marks the beginning of your 10th house. So that would be an ideal way to use all this. When we look at the full moon in Aries, it also squares you, but it involves the 4th house now. And so I would say here, there could be some difficulties brought up with regards to your family, in particular your mother, your literal home, your childhood home. All or one of these could be aspected for you. And it's going to require you to put some effort into it here, right? So there could be some individuals in your family that are causing a bit of a ruckus or causing problems. Maybe they want to be independent, you know. And you've got to step in and help out here. And it's not so easy. It's like stepping on eggshells, where you've got to be careful about being diplomatic and all that stuff. For others, it could be something as simple as what? Your own physical home. You want to sell your home. You want to buy a home. And there's just difficulties. It's not all straightforward. But that could be just the simplest thing that could happen. For others, you may actually be renovating your home, where all of a sudden it's come to light that the contractor's not going to be available when they said they were going to be, or pieces of whatever you've got to do to make the renovation happen doesn't happen for you. I mean, remember that at the full moon, the sun is going to be in Libra, right? Yeah, so negotiate is what I would say. Try to be, attract people through, honey attracts more than vinegar is that whole saying. So just bear that in mind as maybe you're dealing with difficult situations to do with a home or with your family and or your mother. Like I said, think outside the box. Maybe involve other people, right? Try not to take everything on yourself. Yeah. There may be help out there for with the sun in Libra. This is many ways society, right? People outside your home. And so maybe there's going to be some kind of group that can help you out here, like say a respite type thing, where you're maybe having to look after your parents or one of them or both of them, and you need some help. Well, that does exist out there. You just got to reach out. So for those in that situation, please do reach out. Now, when we look at that Mars going retrograde, mainly in Cancer, we know it opposes your sign. So I'm just saying straight off, Capricorn, that you're going to have to be dealing with partners, whether they're business partners, marriage partners, or clients, or any other, right? And so I would just say, during that Mars retrograde, you're probably going to have some frustrations. And the best thing for you to do is to really look at this as a win-win situation, right? You're not going to get everything resolved really much before the end of February next year. So work at negotiations. That would be a great way to use the Mars retrograde. Get the information from the other person. Try to understand their point of view. But it's you over here, and then you looking over there at all the other people, right? So it's not going to be about you. It's about them and you understanding how to handle them, right? So if you know this type of situation is going to come up, or say you're putting together a business partnership, take care to look carefully at what you're putting in there, right? And do your own due diligence. And try to wait, if you can, till after February before cementing in a business partnership at this time. Other than that, it could just bring in, on a surface level, huge activity with regards to, say, your marriage partner. They just have to start doing stuff or planning stuff, and you don't have as much time with them. Or business partnerships or clients are all in that area. Now, usually we talk about Mars retrograde where energy slows down, but we do have shadow periods on either side too, where Mars is going direct. So there could be a lot of activity and then a stopping of activity with regards to other people. All right. Take care, Capricorn. So Aquarius, boy, Aquarius, you must be really getting excited about mid-November 2024 when Pluto is completely in your sign for about 20 years. That's super exciting. And it's certainly going to be bringing in for a lot of Aquarians huge enlightenment and huge changes that are necessary for their lives, right? The new moon eclipse on the 2nd of October in Libra trines your sign and involves the 9th house. This could just bring you great opportunities to travel. It could also, because the 9th house rules international and foreign people, for some folks, you're going to actually decide to go live overseas or live at a distance from where you're at right now, right? And hey, you're going to be supported with that trine for sure. For others, it may just mean that you're going to have to deal more with foreign people, foreign things, maybe as a result of your job. For others, you could just be planning travel. That would be a one. You come up with this idea, hey, I want to go to this foreign country, and some new opportunity comes in for you to do that. But I'm getting the feeling more that there's going to be a lot of Aquarian that decide they want to start planning to go live, either live in a foreign country or have more to do with foreign people and foreign things. Now, others could be deciding to do an advanced degree Other folks could be initiating some kind of legal action, but just let me tell you, Aquarius, that legal action is going in your favor because it's a trine. Now, when we look at the full moon in Aries, it sextiles your sign and involves the third house. So opposed to the ninth house that I just talked about, the third house is about short distance travel. It's about your siblings. It's about your neighbors. It's about writing projects. It's about commercial and sales projects as well. Now, it's a full moon. So straight off, there's going to be some Aquarians that are wrapping up, say, a sales or commerce deal right now. Others are wrapping up some writing project that they've been doing. And I didn't mention it, but that ninth house is also publishing. So at the beginning of the month, that eclipse could bring in a publishing opportunity for a writing project that you wrap up later on in October at that full moon in Aries. But it could have you having opportunities to interact more with your siblings as well as your neighbors, maybe to put together some initiative of some sort. That's what I'm thinking. But it's a sextile, so it's all opportunities. It's a positive influence. But the sextile always says, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? I'm going to give you the opportunities. It's all up to you. And for others, this just may be you being given opportunities to do short distance travel, maybe around your city or your state for some reason. It is a full moon, so it tends to give this flavor of, either shining a big spotlight on it or endings. I mean, it could be, say you do short distance travel in your job. That full moon could bring to light, hey, you're going to have to change your route that you're doing. And that could come through a whole bunch of things. There's now construction going on in that area. Or the company you're working for is saying, we want to change where you actually do your short distance travel as part of your job too. And you just have to take that opportunity or not. When we look at that Mars going retrograde mainly in Cancer, it just involves your sixth house. And so there's going to be some Aquarians that are going to be doing a big review, maybe as a result of frustrations in your job. Maybe you don't like your boss. Maybe you don't like the people you're working for, and you're frustrated during the Mars retrograde. Try to use the Mars retrograde to make changes by discussing with other people, by discussing with your boss, by discussing with people you work with that are, causing a lot of frustration. Maybe they just don't know, and you just need to enlighten them. But do it in a diplomatic way, not in an aggressive way, right? So that Mars retrograde can bring in aggression as well. And it can bring in aggression, especially in Cancer, where you feel threatened that your safety and security of your job. So kind of try to put those intense feelings of being threatened in your job aside and try to look at what's really happening and collect the information that you need to collect and decide what action you may need to take. And hey, there may be some folks that decide, I've got to leave this job. I've got to get a different job here. And that Mars retrograde is used to find out, how can I do that? How can I plan to get out of this job and go into a new one? Easy thing to use at a Mars retrograde, but no, there's going to be some frustrations there. For others, it could bring in something to do with your health. And the health related to Cancer can be reproductive health. It can bring in anything to do with nurturing, compassion, motherhood. There may be some frustrations there. Maybe for some folks, you're going in for IVF and it's not working. I know you can go for more than one. Seek out people that can really help you, that are compassionate. That's who you want to go for. And typically we talk about Cancer being mothering types, therefore female types. So hopefully that maybe gives you some ideas of folks that are in that area. But do take care of your health. If something does come up at this time, you can work behind the scenes to make that health better, right? As long as you have compassion there, and as long as you've got a nurturing energy coming in for you to make you feel better. So there may be some folks that need to realize they're working too hard and that they need some nurturing here. Stop working so hard. And maybe you got to negotiate with your boss or even other people that you work with so you don't have so much on your plate, so that you can get some love coming your way and it's not all work, work, work. All right, take care, Aquarius. So for Pisces, that new moon eclipse in Libra is in your 8th house. So these are new opportunities for you to potentially invest And because it's Libra, put together all the legal paperwork, right? Get those things signed off. For others, it could be something to do with your sex life. Maybe you have a new sexual relationship come in at this time. There probably is going to be a lot of balance and diplomacy there, right? Because that's very Libran. You could also have things like, I'm thinking there could be new legal stuff coming up for some folks here. And it may be that you've got to sign off on some papers here to make your investments go further, right? Because don't forget, we have another eclipse, a new moon that's going to come up in your opposite sign in March, and it'll be the final eclipse. So pay attention to that. Now, this would also be a great time for you to initiate any psychological counseling, because the 8th house is also that too, right? Technically also secrets can be revealed at this time, yours or others. But I get more a feeling here for most Pisces that this is going to be one, either a new sexual relationship for you that will bring balance into your life, or getting all your legal stuff sorted out with regards to all your investments, either your personal investments or any investments or shared resources that you have. I get more of an emphasis on that for you, Pisces. Now, when we look at that full moon in Aries, well, that's in your 2nd house. So that's the opposite house to the 8th. And this is the money that you earn. So straight off the bat, some Pisces may actually have some income stop at this time. And maybe that's as a result of you deciding you don't want to do that job anymore. It can also be a time of retiring. Going back to that new moon in the 8th house, the 8th house also rules things like what you'll access when you retire, your pensions, your 401ks, your investments. So both these things could be happening this month for some Pisces, where you let go of some income because you're going to now tap into your savings, your investments, etc. The other thing that could happen here too, because it's a full moon in Aries, it's you wanting to be an individual where you earn money. It could be you decide you don't want to work for people anymore. And you have to work out how you're going to let that go. And the money you earn is going to be through your own business. Now, the 2nd house is not your own business, but because it's Aries, it could be that you just don't want to work for the corporate world anymore. You want to do your own business and earn your own money, doing your own individual thing. And so those types of things could come up for some Pisces too. Now, when we look at that Mars retrograde, we know that it's mostly in Cancer, and it favorably trines your sign, Pisces. So this is going to be overall a favorable Mars retrograde for you, with maybe a few hiccups of frustration, but you're one of the signs, the few signs that are probably going to benefit from this Mars retrograde. It trines you, and it is in your 5th house. If you are waiting for having some new relationship start, excellent time, or something may come in for you. Now, it may not all happen in terms of action and moving forward. It may be 1 step forward, 2 steps back with regards to a relationship, but it's all positive. Now, the other thing the 5th house rules is children. So for those folks that have children, for sure, this could be a time when you have to review things with regards to your children. Maybe your child is going off to university either next year or in a few months, and you've got to figure out something with them and plan with them how they're actually going to do that. So that could come up at this time. On a negative side, your children could somehow have something delayed for them, right? Maybe a creative project. And speaking of creative projects, that is in the auspices of the 5th house. Now, the one caveat I will say is the Mars retrograde for creative projects could have you planning, picking the information, making sure you've got the right time periods, putting together a Gantt chart of some sort where you have milestones of how you're going to progress this creative project forward. Excellent, excellent time to use a Mars trine your 5th house. It can also be a time when you plan when you're going to kick off a new business. Now, the Mars retrograde is not a favorable time to start your own business, to officially start it, but you could do a beta. And a beta launch is basically when you semi-launch your business with the intent of gathering information of what am I missing here, checking in with potential clients or business organizations, or seeing how much money potentially could you get here, checking with other people doing the same thing. And then you launch your business certainly after the Mars, officially after the Mars retrograde, which would be end of February. I would like to stay outside that shadow period too, but hey, sometimes we just have to make things happen, right? All right, so Pisces, overall, it looks kind of good for you with regards to money and starting new creative projects. Go for it, Pisces, and take care. So for Aries, you're really activated. You and Libra are definitely activated this month of October. So yeah, we have that new moon, which is opposite you and involves your 7th house. So straight off, there's going to be some Aries that their partners are in big focus for some new starts here, right? And it's you looking at them having the new starts. Now they're going to affect you, but it's them that's having this, right? So the new moon has the sun and the moon together in your 7th house. So this could also bring in new opportunities for partnerships, business partnerships. Technically, this could be a time where some Aries get married, right? For sure. And you do have the influence positively of Jupiter being in Gemini, sextiling your sign, right? So bringing in good luck in that area too. And because it's an eclipse, that's why I'm also mentioning for some Aries, this could be a marriage where everything is focused on the marriage partnership. But new beginnings in business partnerships, you could have new clients come in at this time as well. Yeah, and certainly if, you are dealing with people in the legal profession, this could bring up some new starts there too, because Libra does reflect that as well. But it could also have, at a more superficial level, Libra can be socializing. So your partner could be socializing a lot more and you're not able to see them as much as you want. That sort of thing could come in here as well. But it may involve you letting go of something. Not necessarily letting go of the person, but maybe letting go of a way of doing partnership with that person. And with Mercury supporting you there, it could be you have some good discussions to have a new start. Now we look at that full moon that's going to be in Aries. Well, we know that that's your sign, right? Now we're looking at that at 24 degrees of Aries to have any significant effects, right? And I tend to take no more than 2 degrees on either side. So that's your first house. So this is some kind of ending for you, Aries. Yeah, so it might be a wrap-up of some sort where you decide that you need to take some new initiative. It's kind of like a double Aries for you, which is, Aries is all about individual path. It's also about being assertive and at its worst, being aggressive. And a full moon can bring, a heightened emotions. So I would say for you, Aries, just be careful at that full moon not to be aggressive. There's nothing wrong with being assertive, and especially asserting your individuality, but do it in a way that is a win-win situation, right? Because you've got that partnership area at the beginning of the month, there may be some, not necessarily as big as aggravation with your partner or business partner, but maybe just something where you say, I don't feel I'm expressing myself. That could come up for this whole month of October. And it comes to a head at the full moon in Aries for you, right? Now, we look at that Mars retrograde. Aries, it squares your sign and it squares the 4th house. So this is going to bring in some delays with regards to your family, some maybe challenges with regards to your family and or your mother. It can bring in challenges for your home that you're in. Maybe you want to move forward with getting renovations in your home, and it's becoming obvious you can't do that. And the reason you can't do it is because you've got to handle some problems, let's just say, with your mother. The mother is more featured than the father in the 4th house, but they can be the family situation. So there may be some family situation that turns up that Aries you are tasked with taking care of. Maybe it's your mother has to be placed in a home. You're trying to renovate your home, and that's not working because you got to pay attention to her and figure her out. Or there's something that happens in the home and the family that you are tasked with handling. And it means that you've got to put something that you want to do individually to the side. It can also bring a focus in on selling or buying a home too. And it's just going to be straight off frustrations. So knowing that the Mars retrograde, it does start in Leo early December, and then it ends at 17 degrees of Cancer at the end of February. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home and you're watching this video now, I would be doing big initiations right now with regards to looking at where are there different time periods where frustrations may happen. What plan B can I have if plan A doesn't work out? And I'm thinking in particular of those folks that have to or want to buy a home, sell a home during that time period of the Mars retrograde. It isn't going to be a good time to do that. I'm just telling you straight off. Sometimes we do have to do these things anyway, but in advance of the Mars retrograde, figure out what could go wrong and then figure out a plan A and a plan B so that maybe it all goes smoothly after all. But I'm getting this feeling of twists and turns with regards to family, with regards to mother, and regarding anything to do with a home. And frustrations there. But know that the Mars retrograde does end at the end of February, but it's going to stay in Cancer for another couple months after that. So that area of your life, wherever Cancer sits for you, and sometimes it straddles two houses when you look at your individual, know that that's going to be aspected. And just figure out, if frustrations happen in this area, what can I do now to potentially alleviate that in the future? Right? All right. Take care of yourself. It is a trine, so no, it is a square, sorry. So you do have to think outside the box here, Aries. Okay. All right. Take care and enjoy that new moon eclipse. I think that's going to bring in something. Like I said, some partner may come in for you too. That's maybe a benefit for you that gives you something. All right. Take care, Aries. So for Taurus, so that new moon eclipse that happens in Libra is going to be in your 6th house. So for those Taurus that have been suffering from ill health, this is the turning point in it. You've got the influence of that south node, which means you're going to be letting go of something, and maybe it's letting go of that ill health as you get new opportunities to have better health, right? And then you've got the Mercury beside there too, all in the stellium, aspecting that new moon eclipse. And so I would say you're either going to receive a message or you're going to give a message out about, I'm improving my health here. I just want to get my health sorted out. And at this eclipse, because it's eclipse, it heightens things. Somebody comes in for you that's balanced, that's Libra, and diplomatic, and nice, right? Venus rules Libra, so it's nice people come in. More than likely, it'll be a female to help you out in your area of health. But this is also the house of you and your job, your day-to-day job. If you do not work and you're retired, what is it you do day to day? This is going to bring in new opportunities, but it's going to ask you to let something go. That's the south node, right? And it could come through a message or communication or a discussion with somebody, right? It could even come in with regards to some kind of legal matter of some sort. And I can't read everybody's chart right now, but I'm just giving you as much as I can in terms of the breadth of the area of the 6th house. But, you know, I don't always talk about the 6th house being small animals, but it is small animals too. And so it could be a time period where, you know, there's some Taurians that decide, I'd really like to get that little furry creature in my life. And that's the new beginning for you. And it brings balance and harmony into your life at the same time. The full moon that's going to be in Aries is in your 12th house. So Taurus, the 12th house is what's called a hidden house. It can be our self-undoing. It has a time period with, say, the planet in there, this full moon, highlighting any behind-the-scenes activity, including interacting with places that are behind the scenes. So what is that? That's hospitals, it's ashrams, it's even government offices, it's prisons. It's having you work behind the scenes. Now, I would say, if I had this, I would say the best way to use this is to make a decision to rest, because the 12th house is the house of rest. And that's where the ashram thing comes in. This would be a great time for you to charge up your batteries. That's what I'm getting as a number one. And you don't have to take off to go to India or Tahiti or Fiji to go. You could just stay locally. It could even be a spa that you go to. And this full moon brings you some respite with regards to maybe you really having to take care of your body. Because Aries also relates to the body, in particular to the head. So think about that, Taurian. Taurus, you're still got, Uranus in your sign asking for change. So maybe this full moon would be a good thing to do what I've just told you to do. But it could also have something happen where, this is also a house of hidden enemies. And yeah, you could have someone, reveal who they are, that maybe they're working against you, and this gets revealed at the full moon, and that's a benefit to you, right? What else could this bring in for you? Other thing that could bring into you is you tying up some metaphysical thing. So for those folks that have maybe been studying astrology, anything metaphysical, shamanism, this could be you tying up that area of study for yourself. Super positive. And then in being in Aries, the tying up allows you to go on that individual path where you use these metaphysical things that you've been studying and learning. When we look at that Mars retrograde mostly in Cancer, it nicely sextiles you. And it's your third house. So we're looking here at a number of things. The third house is the house of communications. It involves writing. It also involves presenting to people too. It's short distance travel, usually around your city or your state. It's your siblings, and it is also your neighbors. All these things could come into focus at this point in terms of new opportunities of interacting with these things, right? So you get a new writing project for those Taurians, and I do have some clients that are writers. This could be an opportunity where you get this new writing project coming in. It's not going to be triggered, say, till February after the Mars retrograde, and this is you putting all the pieces together. The contracts, putting together, as I mentioned in another video, your Gantt chart. Where are your milestones that you have to do this? What actions are you going to have to take? Mars retrograde almost always brings in frustrations, though, in terms of, I want to do this now, and you can't do it. So Taurus, that's going to happen for you too, in either a big way or small way. So what can you do now? Let's say you do have a writing project coming in of some sort, or maybe putting together some kind of educational type of thing that involves writing. Plan for it. Do a plan A and a plan B. You know that this is going to be due, let's just say it's supposed to be due in early February, but we still have the Mars retrograde going on. Know that there's going to be probably a delay. So what's your plan B going to be when you're supposed to deliver it mid-February, but you still got the Mars retrograde and a delay comes up? So just think through the process is what I would say. Mars is retrograde is a great time to figure out where there may be some delays and what would you do for those delays, not trying to overcome the delay right then and there. Yeah, I mean, there could also be delays with regards to maybe connecting with your siblings for some reason. Something can happen there. This can also bring delays in, you're maybe involved in short distance travel in your job, or for whatever reason, you do a lot of short distance things around your city, maybe visiting people. Know that there's going to be some frustrations with doing that and figure out different routes when the Mars retrograde happens and the delays start happening, or check out the areas that you know you have to go to where there's probably going to be some delays. Delays how? Construction. Those things are usually announced well in advance. And if there's going to be construction to where you need to go to, figure out a different route before the Mars retrograde happens. You could have delays if part of what you do in your job is you present. There could be delays in that area as well. So figure out prior to the Mars retrograde other dates that you could possibly present, and maybe even, put that on the calendar as a temporary time when you may have to change the date that you actually present. Don't have everything booked the whole month or the whole time period, those 3 months that Mars is retrograde. Leave some leeway there where there's flexibility is what I would say, if you were involved in that type of thing as maybe your job. All right, take care, Taurus. So for Gemini, this new moon eclipse in Libra at 10 degrees is going to be trine your sign. And Gemini, that's fabulous. It's in your 5th house. So some Geminis are going to start a new love at this time. And it's going to bring in balance and harmony into your life. Big time. Now, you're going to have to let go of something because you've got the South Node there. But there's going to be, for some Geminis, some message comes in. Now, this could be, say, you are doing internet dating. This could have someone messaging you, and this becomes a new love in your life. For others, children are going to be involved. You may actually get pregnant at this time or give birth at this time. Especially with the eclipse, I would say giving birth is potentially important for some Geminis. This could be a birth of a new creative project. You get given this creative project, but there's a little bit of a caveat where you've got to let go of something, maybe something that you're doing, and take on some new way of doing. You're tasked with doing something new creatively, but it means you got to let go of something. And someone gives you that in a message saying, should you decide to take this, you're going to have to let go of the way you do it that way and do it this way. But it's positive for you, Gemini. You know, it's going in your favor. What else? New businesses. So you could start your own business at this time as well. It'd be great time to start it, actually. In fact, I started my business on, it wasn't an eclipse, but it was a Libra new moon that I started my business on. So that could be up for some Geminis as well. When we look at that full moon in Aries, it forms a sextile with your sign. So there's going to be opportunities here for you with the 11th house involved to make new friendships. And these friendships that you're going to make are going to support your individuality, right? Because it's in Aries. It may even support you moving forward with who you are. Like it actually highlights, they like your individuality. They like how you express yourself. It can also bring in opportunities for you to work with different groups. But being the full moon, it's like you're letting go of something as well. But it might be just letting go of a way of doing things. And I'm thinking when we're talking about friends and groups you belong to, you just may make a decision at this full moon to end a certain way that you are interacting with friends. Maybe you get this enlightenment at the eclipse where you say, you know, I need to shift something here with regards to people understanding I'm an individual. I'm not just a sheep. That's what I'm thinking in my head. But I'm an actual individual going on my own path. And I need to somehow interact with my friends and the groups I belong with so they understand that, right? Hopes, dreams, and wishes. You could tie up some hopes, dreams, and wishes. And I know somebody who's a Gemini that is in the process of tying up a second master's at this time. And that's my daughter. And so this is you getting that view in October of, wow, I see this dream finally coming true. And don't think that can't happen, Gemini. Believe. You're going to have opportunities here to do something with your hopes, dreams, and wishes. Take it up. Especially as it helps you express your individuality and the path you want to go on. Now, when we look at that Mars retrograde, it happens mainly in Cancer and it involves your second house. Great time to negotiate more money. Great time to say, hey, boss, I'm not being valued here. And value is equated mostly in our society as money. So this is you negotiating for more money, Gemini. For sure, like hands down. Now, it could be you negotiating for a different job as well. That could be brought into the mix here because obviously you get money from the job you do. It's mostly the 6th house and the 10th house we talk about for that. But I'm thinking it could be. Now, the other thing is you could be looking for security, security and safety with regards to your money. Now, that could play out with you deciding to put some guardrails around your income. Something as simple as whatever checking account you have, there's a good strong password on it that someone can't go in there. Checking your credit reports to make sure that things aren't happening with regards to the money that you're making that are causing potentially some problems for you. Yeah. Else could this be? Yeah, you just may want, I'm thinking the general thing is going to be, you want to get more money. You're just hitting these walls all the time. So knowing that this Mars retrograde is coming up and there's going to be delays, first of all, be okay about it, but try in advance of that to get things moving forward so that at least the things are moving forward in you getting potentially this money in your hand, more money. Get the dates that if your boss says, sure, we'll give you more money, get it in writing. Get the dates that this is supposed to happen. But know if she says, oh, next paycheck you're going to be getting this money, know that there's going to be a delay. The delay may just be that, accounting hasn't caught up with getting you reinstated with this money. So what can you do? Check with accounting prior to the time period you're going to be getting it and saying, have you got all the information to get this new amount of money or this raise that I'm supposed to be getting starting at this point? Did my boss give you that date? There's nothing wrong with asking that. Just don't be aggressive about it, okay? Hands down, Gemini, don't get aggressive about getting more money. Don't get aggressive about getting a new job. Be assertive for sure. Let your personality shine through, but don't get aggressive because there's going to be a potential with these delays where you're going to be upset. All right. But hey, everything else in here, Gemini, especially that new moon eclipse, I'm excited for you. That 5th house is one of the best houses, in my view, you can have activated for positive things coming into your life. Take care, Gemini. All right, Cancer. So Cancer, that new moon eclipse at 10 of Libra squares your sign and it squares your 4th house. And hey, yeah, the full moon also squares you, but it's your 10th house. So all of October, you're going to have challenges to do with your home, your family, your mother, and your career, your social standing, your reputation. So I would say that there's going to be some Cancers that are going to have, say, things come up in their home to begin with. Some new thing happens in the family that you have to take care of. A new thing comes up with your home. Maybe you've got this opportunity to buy a home. You want the escrow to be in less than 10 or 15 days. And they say, oh, I think we can do that. But they didn't sign the paperwork saying they would do that. And then a couple of days later, you find out, oh no, we're going to have to do a 60-day escrow. So again, check stuff out if you're buying a home or selling a home, that you know all the details with regards to that, because there's frustrations coming your way with the square where you're going to have to think outside the box. And if indeed something like that happens, say you are buying a home, are you okay about a 60-day escrow? Could you convince them to do a 30-day instead? But know that those sort of frustrations could come up where you're going to have to think outside the box. So if you're buying a home, look at scenario A, but look at scenario B too. If something changes, are you able to be flexible with that? And maybe you are. This could have, say, you want to build a home, or you're doing renovations in your home. There's going to be potential frustrations with that too. So what you need to do with this eclipse being in Libra, you need to make sure all your contracts have all the details. If you're signing someone else's contract, I would definitely be looking at every single line in there. If you do not understand something, you need to make sure you understand it and get it cleared up. And same thing with whatever you're putting in a contract. Say you're having a contractor coming in to do renovations in your place. Make sure you have some caveat in there that he's obliged to fulfill his obligations, right? Yeah. But you could just be dealing with things like your family, where there's inharmonious things going on. Libra as a sign wants to have harmony, right? Wants to have balance. But with the square, it says it just ain't there. But it could be there, Cancer. You just have to put a little bit of effort into it. And, Libra's all about seeking out diplomacy and win-win situations. Have that in mind when you're dealing with difficult situations in the home, about the home, or with the family. Got to have balance, got to have win-wins. Now, when we look at that full moon in Aries in your 10th house, this is you having potential challenges with regards to your career, your reputation, or your social standing. And sometimes these things are, because it's in Aries, I'm thinking there's going to be some Cancers that are starting some new initiative in their career. And it's not so straightforward. You bought into it. You're kind of on your own. You're now the leader of the group, and it's a new position for you. And all the square is providing you with is a little bit of a challenge to get it all together and to lead. Okay, what can that spell out to be? In advance of you knowing you're going to take on this new leadership role, can you take some company-generated, I've done this, company-generated courses that support you in being a good leader, right? You could have people challenging your leadership too. So you need to shore up whoever you are that, really does scream out that you're a fabulous leader. If you're weak in any of those areas, look now at what you can do. I would say a course or working with a mentor to really bring in and highlight your leadership abilities in your career. Yeah, because it's all possible here. Now, when we look at that Mars, so the positive thing here, Cancer, is the Mars retrograde is in your sign. But this could go either way, but I would say even at a retrograde, you're going to be busy. But the retrograde time period, so we're talking about sort of the beginning, the first week of December, is in Leo. And then most of the retrograde is going to be in Cancer. And it ends at the end of February. There just may be some frustrations here for you to start some new initiative in your life. This is in your first house. Now, it does go direct around 17 degrees of Cancer. So you want to look at that 17-degree mark. If you've got something at, I would say, 2 degrees on either side of that, know that towards that end of February, that pent-up frustration and energy is going to be released for you, and you're going to be able to move forward. So how else could this Mars retrograde play out in the first house for you, Cancer? I'm seeing this like how, that chicken is in the egg, right? And it's inside that egg evolving into a chicken. So that when it's ready to come out, it comes out and breaks out of the shell. So I also see a lot of Cancers undergoing that type of transformation at the Mars retrograde, where they take that Mars retrograde internally and either, say, learn a lot more things, improve who they are, make decisions in that, where they're working on an internal level to up their game, right? So this is all a big focus on you, Cancer. This is you upping your game of who you are. And this could be quite a challenging thing for some Cancers, but at the same time, this could be very rewarding for you to transform into something fabulous. I mean, I'm hoping that happens to me. I have a Cancer ascendant. My first house is Cancer too, but we'll have to see. But know, Cancer, there's going to be some frustrations, and know that there's going to be some delays. It's all okay. It's all about moving you forward as a person, this Mars retrograde, Cancer, so just bear that in mind. If there's a delay or frustration, it means something has to change. And you just have to also, as I've mentioned in other signs, have a plan A and have a plan B, especially in any new initiatives that you want to move forward with. Don't just think it's just plan A and that's it, because that's when frustrations will come in for you, right? But good stuff for you at that Mars retrograde, Cancer. All right. Take care of yourself, Cancer. So Leo. Leo, this month is really good for you. You've got a sextile at the new moon eclipse in Libra, and it involves your third house. Well, this just straight off spells out legal situation for you. And this says you're going to have some fabulous opportunities for a new start in any kind of legal ongoings, especially with communications, putting together paperwork of any sort, even short distance travel. You're going to get opportunities to go short distance travel from where you normally live. And that'll be positive for you too. You could have more interactions with your siblings and your neighbors as well at that new moon eclipse. It's going to, though, involve you letting go of something or something being taken away from you, because we've got the influence of the South Node. South Node's all about what you need to let go of. But hey, this is a sextile. So you're going to positively be letting go of something. And I really think it has something to do with some kind of legal matter or legal situation. But it could also be the third house is writing. So you may have some fabulous new opportunities to write. And if you're writing things like laws or anything to do with diplomacy, or even something to do with social mores, this could be really positive for you, this new beginning as well. And you may be making some announcements or doing some messaging of some sort regarding this new thing, because we've got Mercury involved in this eclipse as well. Now, the full moon in Aries, we know Aries is a fellow fire sign. So that trines your sign, adding even more positive energy to your month. And that's in your 9th house. Well, just like I talked about the new moon as legal matters, the 9th house is legal matters too. And it's a trine. So Aries says you can be you. You can be your own individual self in a very positive way with regards to legal matters turning out for you positively. If you decide you want to go on some trip, this could have you ending a beautiful trip of some sort, but it could also have you ending the planning for a fabulous trip. This could also mark a time period for some Leos where you wrap up some advanced degree of some sort, or at least it comes into view. And that view also tells you that you're going to be a leader within whatever, advanced degree that you're getting. Publishing is up. So for any Leos that have to publish, and publishing doesn't have to mean you write a book and you publish it. It could be any kind of writing that you do, because you've got that writing highlighted at that new moon eclipse on the 2nd of October. Then you've got the publishing happening towards the end of the month. So this could have you favorably publishing something that's very individual to you, right? That's all about Aries. Yeah, very positive. October is going to be fabulous for you, Leo, so enjoy it, right? And you may even have meaning on a more abstract level, meaning coming into your life as a result of something tying up in one of these areas that I've just mentioned for the 9th house. When we look at that Mars retrograde, this is a little different energy for you. It's mostly in Cancer. It does start in your sign, about 6 degrees of Leo. So you may have something happen to you in December that's brought to your attention that has to be taken back behind the scenes, because that Cancer is your 12th house. So I would say it's going to have you working behind the scenes, for sure. Whether that's working behind the scenes to do with government offices, ashrams, hospitals, prisons, or just you having to work behind the scenes. It could just be straight off. You can't maybe bring a project out during this time period. And the time period we're talking about, the real time period, is about 3 months, early December all the way through the end of February. Could be a time when you work very hard behind the scenes to get something done. This thing that you're doing could have something to do with family. It could have something to do with compassion just on its own. And something to do with home life or the homeland. So this could be the homeland. If you do having something to do with your homeland, this could have you working behind the scenes, potentially secretly behind the scenes, because the 12th house is also the house of secrets. And this is a negative thing necessarily. It's just, you're not going to be able to come out in the open to do things. You may also want to trigger something and move forward with something, and you get delays. So you could have a bit of frustration here. As well as delays that could come in. Maybe you want to move forward with something and you just can't do it for whatever reason. You're forced to put a delay on it. But overall, I like that energy of Mars being in your 12th house. If all you have to do is work behind the scenes or work in secret, perfectly positioned for you, Leo. Enjoy the month of October, Leo. Bye for now. So Virgo, we have this new moon eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra is in your 2nd house. This is new beginnings in income for some Virgos. It could be a new job comes your way as a result of you getting more money. It could also have you realizing you're not being valued, and you take the step of saying, I want more money, and you negotiate this easily. In a win-win situation, say with your boss, where they say, yeah, you know what, we do realize we're not valuing you enough. Or say you've got another degree or a certification that you bring to your boss and say, I think this qualifies me for having more money because I'm now more value to the company itself. And you get it at this eclipse. Yeah, it's a money house, the 2nd house, so there's some big new opportunities for you. Now, you've got the influence of that South Node, which says letting go. So there's going to be some Virgos that will be letting go of an old job to get more money in a new job, for sure. And then we also have that Mercury that's standing there too. So just straight off as a direct translation, some Virgos are going to make a new announcement about getting a new job that values them more and gives them more money. And it could involve the legal profession or diplomacy because it is in Libra. It may also involve your partner because Libra rules the 7th house, and the 7th house is partnerships, business partnerships, marriage partnerships. New start in the money that you make. Now, that full moon in Aries is going to be in your 8th house. So this month, Virgo, we have your money houses being aspected all month, right? So the 8th house now is more to do with pensions, 401ks, money you pay to other people, credit cards, mortgages, investments that you have. But it's also your psychological self and it's also your sex life. So all these could be brought into view too. Something as simple as you deciding you want to retire. Some Virgos are going to be doing that. And this full moon aspecting your 8th house says, okay, I got to start accessing my pensions, my 401ks, my savings. I got to cash in my investments. And that's the activity that you start taking up at the full moon in Aries. Be a great way to use it. There could be some difficulties that come up in your sex life with regards to something to do with individuality that you may have to sort out. It's just a full moon in your 8th house. It's not like it forms a square or an opposition. So it's just going to be a situation. Hey, for others, other Virgos are just going to tie up some, say, psychological therapy where you really feel that you've gotten a lot of help with this psychologist or therapist you've been working with. And you say, you know what, I'm ready to go out on my own and be who I am. And that's it. I would like to end my therapy now. That would be a great way to use this too. Now, when we look at that Mars retrograde, Virgo, that favorably sextiles you and involves your 11th house. So this could have you potentially looking at making new friendships, potentially joining new groups, but also looking at your hopes, dreams, and wishes and coming up with a plan. How can I make my hopes, dreams, and wishes come true here? How can I get in that elite group that I've wanted to belong in? Not being able to necessarily take action to jump in that new group, but to figure out what's involved, what actions do I need to take to get in that elite group that I want to be in? And looking at those, right? This is the sextile aspect, so it's favorable energy for you. You're going to get opportunities to potentially do that with this. But I like the fact that you're going to potentially get opportunities to take action to put your dreams, hopes, and wishes in place here, especially as it applies to you becoming more safe and secure and compassion for yourself. I like that a lot. So enjoy that, Virgo, and we will see you next month. All right, folks. So that's going to end my whole discussion here of this month of October 2024. I'm sending lots of love out to everybody and lots of great best wishes. Didn't talk about Halloween, but hey, enjoy yourself at Halloween. I haven't looked at that day, but there's no big moon or eclipse at that time. Yeah, enjoy yourself, and love other people. Make sure you're bringing balance into your life. Try to go for the win-win situations with this big influence of Libra as well as Aries, right? Love to hear from everybody. If you want me to do your chart, this might be a good time to do it. I may be doing a live session coming up in November. I will definitely make announcements about it where I will be looking at the year ahead. I've still got to do all the planning for it. All right. Take care, everybody. Talk to you soon.